Hello, and welcome to an adventure like no other. Far more than what you have known, there is something far more to be known than you can ever know. And it is all about you, the real you, your real awareness with your intuitive senses. You were never taught that the real you, your real awareness, is operating 5 bodies in cause and effect, restricting creation. You have been taught to think that you are only a one-dimensional human person, with a mind and emotions, and with a very short lifespan on this planet Earth. More than what your mind can grasp is your intuitive senses that can be opened to see beyond all your restrictions. You have always had an opening to see beyond what you have known, and this has been purposely kept from you, and this is where you have heard rumors and stories about your nightly dreams. Your so-called dreams is your opening to your intuitive senses that will allow you, the personal you, to excel beyond what you have previously known. Everyone has intuitive senses, and very few people take advantage of what is possible by recognizing something more than their mind can understand. Creation has its place for all of us, and then there is all life, which is far more than anything than what can become with creation. Everything we experience is necessary for us to survive with whatever we choose and decide our life to be. New Kevin Smith is the great witness to something more than what can be taught and learned in any school. It can be so that when anyone first listens to Kevin's intuitive side experiences, also known as real side experiences, from what their personal mind has known, Kevin's manner of expression will at first be rather different to comprehend. This is where this introduction and reading the new books and Facebook groups will help. Have fun deciding. DUANE the Great Writer and Seer.
In this real side experience, I would find myself in a large conference-style room within a large building. At this stage of the experience, I would be engaging with an individual seemingly, impressions suggesting we had been conversing for quite the duration, and the scene had opened up toward the conclusion of our interaction. Generally, the personal self will be afforded the experiences according to what makes the most sense for it to receive any given moment, that which is required for the continued process of awareness, and ultimately all is recognition, assuming such an intent has been established in regards to the recognizing of the true reality. And so, the experiences we have real side may not necessarily be in their entirety, as though we had entered the movie theatres part way through the screening. Oftentimes, it is a case of skipping through the irrelevant parts, as though fast-forwarding to the crucial scenes in the film, but it can also be so that where awareness is lacking, so elements and details of the experiences may be absent. Were we to have completed our awareness process, where we stand in complete decided detachment from all ideas of consciousness, where we had faced the personal self and all creation in its entirety, as we then would be standing as the everything isness real awareness reality that animates through all consciousness effected simulation, nothing would be unavailable to us. We would have a full access multi-dimensionally and access to everything transpiring in creation. In actuality, we cannot be anything other than this everything reality, as this is our true being states, and so access to everything already is so, but through the process of awareness as yet to be completed, as we retain attachment to certain ideas, all ideas we cling to will present as restricting, limiting factors which diminish accessing fully the creational simulator arena and everything contained therein, from a personal self-view perspective at any rate, and as we then have not completed our awareness, as is the case with myself, where much by way of a consciousness attachment and agreement is to be faced and released, this presents, as I said, as layers of obfuscation which filter and block the position where we are standing with full access and nothing is omitted or denied us in our experiences. Not necessarily that parts of the experience are absent. We may simply be shown the essential scenes of it as I mentioned, but oftentimes the experience can be interwoven with random simulated effects as expressed from certain ideas of consciousness we retain attachment with, that these effects are either recognized as though as intruding elements, and we rather disregard them and tease them out of the overall experience, or entire alternative personal self-scenes can overlap what the guides are presenting to us, as though another movie interwoven and interlaced with the main feature. And oftentimes it can be so that we may not recognize certain of the experience participants. Again, their identities may not be essential to be revealed, but on occasion the featuring characters may be shrouded in darkness, or that if words are spoken they are not readily received, or we hear but fragments, as though the process of awareness as yet uncompleted, the idea attachments we still hold to, interfere with the experience in this manner, that we are not standing then in complete awareness creationally, and where detail is denied us. And completing awareness is one thing. We can have effaced and released every personal self and creation consciousness idea, but then is the greater task of recognizing the ears. But anyway, there can be many factors that impact our receiving of experiences. Ultimately, as the deciders, the extent of what we are able to be shown on the real side is according to ourselves, the self-generated restrictions we apply, that obfuscate what the guides are able to reveal. As I was saying in the beginning, I was in the presence of an individual, the scene opening up toward the end of our conversation, and the body type that I was engaging with would be mechanical, a humanoid in a design robotic form. Simply another body type by which real awareness can animate and process through a creation with, the body form design always according to the consciousness construct. For however we have formulated our consciousness, the agreement ideas it comprises of dictates the body types as effected from it. Generally, most are oblivious of how they are projecting into their future lifetimes, and to be assuming the body type designs they will, based on their life choices and deeds, the body type in reflective accordance to the nature of a consciousness construction. This robotic character was divulging to me seemingly all manner of a complex data and information of a more technological nature, reams of coding and such. And I have shared previous and similar real-side experiences where I am engaging with mechanical beings and body forms, and where the exchange of computer-like coding is taking place. Not always is it revealed as to why, though impressions will usually afford illumination as to the general essence of the situation. If it is, say, serving a beneficial purpose, life and awareness speaking, and the overall sincerity and intent of the experience's mechanical participants. This would be a similar situation here, a robotic being affording me essential data coding, and although it made sense during the experience, bringing it back to the personal self on waking, so we have then to apply what interpretation we can, based on the references the personal self has available. But impressions suggested this interaction may be in regards to the operation that is the consciousness overhaul I and others have made mention of and have shared previously. That as it is a consciousness that affects the overall simulator layout, to restructure the consciousness, so effectively can the simulator be altered, and the endeavour is to do so in such a way that improved are circumstances for all multi-dimensionally. The idea construct that is the overall consciousness is often expressed as a data or geometry on the real side, for the simulator is based on computer-like principles of data or ideas being converted into a simulation via the body-vehicle mechanics, and a number of my real side experiences have involved the transference of data coding, exchanges of it being made between myself and generally mechanical body forms as a part of this overall consciousness reformatting operation. This particular robot being was divulging all manner of data-like coding information to myself, and although it seemed more a verbal exchange, the sense was of as though transferring data code from one computer to another, that the code is then delivered to wherever it needed to go next. The only detail I was able to bring back to the physical, amidst the endless reams of transferred data, was that of a number that presented a certain distance as according to the robot, though in regards to what wouldn't be determined, a number that was as follows: 11.003000. It seemed our business was concluded, and I would bid the robot farewell and depart the building, during which there seemed to be present an irate female, accusing me of all manner of unfounded deeds, but I rather brushed her off and proceeded, as she appeared to represent an attempted distraction or interference factor, and would only be as effective as I afforded her attention, as I engaged with her and extended thereby agreement to the ideas she represented and was spewing forth, paying her no heed, so she would disperse as though as insubstantial as the air. It seemed I had a certain destination that involved me traversing through a street in an advanced state of disrepair, neglect, and dilapidation. Perhaps I was as though transporting the data I had received to another area of creation, and this was the route required. Maybe better would it be to manifest directly at my destination point, though as is always the case, the more detail the experiences comprise of, the more likely we are to recollect them on waking. Interestingly, there seemed to be a police officer that was going door to door, though he paid me no attention, and not only was the street somewhat gloomy and in a state of disrepair, but the individuals present in the scene, all of which were humans, as far as they outwardly appeared, were of a rather volatile, aggressive breed and inclination. as though at the slightest provocation would they be motivated into antagonistic behaviour. I had the impression that the policeman was a real guide, as they often assume the outer guises of military and officers of the law, and as though he had the primary objective of approaching every individual within the houses lining the street. For as the recreated houses represent the consciousness on the real side, he then was determining as to those willing to accept the guide's assistance, that should agreement be extended, so this would be represented as the policeman being afforded entry permission into the houses. That although he wasn't paying me any mind, I had the sense he was watching over me simultaneous to his agreement gleaning objective, as though to ensure my safety and where necessary involve himself, should I encounter any trouble beyond my ability to deal with as I transported my data package. At this point in the experience, I also was carrying what seemed to be bags of grocery shopping, and referring back to what I spoke of earlier in regards to an awareness process as yet uncompleted, and where therefore I must still be carrying certain ideas that I am attached to that prevent my standing in completeness of my real awareness position, so perhaps this was a visual representation of just this. For indeed, many an experience has been shared where the holding to ideas of consciousness is represented in this way, the carrying of luggage, bags, etc., literally conveying the sense of the baggage we carry, the ideas we cling to. Additionally, were we to be completely divorced of idea attachment, we can be the effects of nothing therefore, unless we consciously decide to be. This would include the ability of others to bestow harm upon us. If another wishes to eliminate me, I must have the idea that this can be so, consciousness installed. Absent of the idea, and this can never then be a simulated potentiality. As though the programming of a computer game, which doesn't include the ability of a certain game character to in any way impact another, and thus this cannot take place. To be absent then of any idea attachment, we rather are beyond the ability of any other to bestow harm upon us. We are like the game character, where all other participants carry no programming that allow their ability to impose upon us, and we rather can walk through a creation indomitably. And perhaps this was why the guide, in the police officer's form, was following my progress, for the consciousness reformatting operation is one which the dark forces seek to disrupt. The dark forces would prefer the overall simulator to remain as it is, under their control, and a consciousness restructuring, if it is one that involves improved circumstances for all, this wouldn't include the perpetuation of the dark forces' maintained domination. They then are adamant in preventing this from taking place by any means necessary, realistically via the means that we afford them, for as the deciders they can do nothing to us, as I mentioned, absent of the agreement ideas that facilitate their ability to intervene and destroy us. And as I do have much by way of my consciousness releasing a process to complete, there will be undoubtedly agreements present which allow for my harm and eradication at the hands of certain other body types, by whatever means and under what circumstances these agreements were originally obtained. Hence the guides, maintaining a vigil over me, I would suggest. The guides will do so generally, regardless of our being aware of them or not, or perhaps, as in this case, be operating as though a bystander or extra in the scene. Interestingly, as I continued, I would encounter what seemed a number of features of the scene that were absent of colour that would usually be in association with such features, and were instead simply white. Specifically, these features would include certain animal body forms, birds, cats, etc., all white, as though depictions in a child's colouring book waiting to be filled in with whatever colour the child so desired. Insert whatever interpretation takes your fancy, but in keeping with the theme of this overall experience, that of the transporting of data or ideas to an alternative creational position, that was in regards to the consciousness restructuring operation. If a consciousness effected simulation is reformatted to that more conducive for awareness, maybe the essence of this objective includes the teasing out of the distortion of a consciousness that effects as the current deterioration and abysmal circumstances that is multi-dimensional creation, as though the restoring of the simulator potentially to its factory settings, so to speak. For as a consciousness is the simulator effected, if the distortion were removed, so potentially the simulator deterioration not only could be slowed, but even offset and reversed, returned to maybe its pristine state, as though the template of the simulator restored to its original format prior to the distortion that progressed it through the epoch cycles, as may be represented here, the animals and certain other features of the scene devoid of a colour, the outlines presented only, and falling upon a consciousness decision as to what may be applied additionally, which colours will the child choose for the colouring book. But as I said, pick your interpretation, and I would proceed through the streets amidst the anomalous, colour-absent animals and features. I would encounter then a little boy, the only other participant in the street setting that was affording me direct attention, and he would issue me a warning. Impressions suggested he was more than his outer body type suggested, though what exactly wasn't revealed, and as I mentioned earlier, where an awareness process as yet to be completed rendered me susceptible to the effects of certain ideas held to, that certain creational-based beings could potentially still eradicate me, so this included a particular breed of a werewolf seemingly, and this was the warning the boy afforded me. The werewolf is just another body form as effected from a particular consciousness construct, though generally a more distorted, ill-intended consciousness, and where the body form is of an equally as monstrous design. The werewolves usually operate in dark force-orientated capacities, especially as guards or assassins, and here it seemed a certain breed of werewolf, where agreements I harboured, dictated their eradicating success were they able to lay their paws upon me, had been deployed to eliminate me, due to my continued persistence in regards to the consciousness overhaul operation. I would never actually see the werewolves in question. The boy would gesture off in the direction of a disused recreational park on the border of a dark woodland, as indicating where the werewolves were lurking, and would emerge from should I linger too long in the streets I was traversing through. I would extend my appreciation to the boy's warning, now being hunted by werewolf assassins, as I proceeded on my quest to deliver the data coding as provided by the robot to wherever it was intended, and there the experience would end.